We're in a competitive endeavor, but it's a competitive world out there. I mean, there are conflicts and struggles that everybody faces. The interesting thing about football is it seems like it's all condensed and consolidated into this pressure cooker. It happens almost so much faster because you have these life-changing events every Sunday, you know, and these pressures every Sunday that hit you.
I first met John in 1989. Yeah, he was just hired as an assistant football coach at the University of Cincinnati. And then a year later, in 1990, I met Craig Versteeg. I remember often talking to John about his career, where he was going. I noticed that John was really getting restless. He was looking at jobs, he was networking a lot, he was taking interviews. But in that 8-year period at the University of Cincinnati, nothing was really coming through for him.
You start to wonder sometimes, I think everybody faces them in your career, you know, you want to move up and you do all the things that you're told you're supposed to do, right? There's networking, there's making calls, there's planning your 5-year plan, you know, laying it all out, mapping out what your next step is, and making all the calls. And then what happens is, a lot of times it doesn't work out the way you plan it.
As the frustrations mounted, as the discouragement and the disappointments mounted, John realized that he might want to try God's way. And as he began to surrender and yield more of his life in terms of his career over to the Lord, God started to open up some opportunities for him.
To me, it was such a miracle that this happened. I mean, there was no other possible way that, you know, the Ravens make the decision to hire a special teams coach, you know, from Philadelphia, unless God decided that that's what he wanted. And that's just how, there's no question about it. There's no other explanation you can make. And to me, that's how God works. And that's why Craig was so important to what we were going to try to accomplish here, because I knew Craig's heart.
He asked me to be a prayer anchor. So all I can tell you is prayer and my job became like this, okay? And the more we went through, and he mentioned adversity, the more ups and downs that he had definitely prepared me for in a 30-year coaching career. It's like, Lord, I know what to do when there's downs. It's pray. And he asked me to pray, so I'm going to pray. And it became like a 5-year, like as much a commitment to that as it was to my coaching, if not more.
One of the things that's so important is the people that God puts in your life, you know, and it's the relationships. And he has a plan for that. So when we were together in Cincinnati, God put Mark in our life. You know, he did it for a reason, because Mark was going to teach us things that we were going to need to know 20 years later, you know. And those are things that we weren't going to figure out for ourselves, I don't think.
No, you had to go through the stuff. You had to go through the school of hard knocks.
But there has to be somebody in your life. And then you try to take a look, and you try to take that step and say, okay, whose life is God putting us into, or me into? You know,
right.
What am I supposed to do with this person?
32 yards to tie it. Here's the kick. It's no good. It's no good.
Right after the devastating loss at New England in the 2012 AFC Championship game, I got a text from John that specifically talked about the peace that he was experiencing as he was walking off the field. He was seconds away from going to the Super Bowl and coaching in a dream game of his life, and yet God had another plan.
As we walked off the field in New England in 2012, that, man, God taught us something, you know, because there was a feeling of peace, and it was an abiding peace, and it was a peace you read about. It was a peace that surpasses all understanding. It's a peace that only comes through faith in God's plan, in knowing that He's got you in this place at this time, in this situation, for just the right reason. And if you have eyes and you have ears and you look and you see, you know, man, it's an amazing, incredible thing what He does.